Hey guys, so today I'm going to be doing a review for the book A Fall of Marigolds by Susan Meissner, and I just absolutely had to do a review for this book, and it will be spoiler free, but I had to do a review for this book because I absolutely loved this book. I mean, I'm talking, it's probably my favorite read of this year, and it may be in like my top favorite book. I absolutely loved like pretty much everything about it, even the things that I didn't like, I liked, which is kind of weird. But let me just get into a brief synopsis of this for you guys. This book has actually a historical fiction that has two parts to it. One is the historical fiction side, and the other is a more modern day story. So they both take place in New York. The historical fiction side of it actually takes place on Ellis Island in 1911, and it follows a story of a young nurse who's kind of gone to Ellis Island after some traumatic experience. To her, Ellis Island is a place to kind of mend from some of these wounds from this loss, this grief, and this guilt that she's been experiencing, and she's calling Ellis Island her in-between place. So in this in-between place, it's almost like her life has taken a pause for a while so she could figure out herself and figure out what her next steps would be. But she's also kind of crippled in fear by going to the mainland, by going to Manhattan. I mean, when I say she's on Ellis Island, she hasn't left Ellis Island since she moved to Ellis Island. And I mean, the ferry goes back and forth all day long. All the other nurses are on the ferry going to the city a few times a week. But our main character, Clara, she just simply refuses to go. She just has such a fear of experiencing all the feelings that she felt when she left Manhattan in the first place. Our other story is a story of a young woman who is a widow. She was widowed after 9/11, and it's her story of what happened through that day and everything that came about from it. And I really do not want to give away any spoilers, so I'm not going to share anything further than that. I was honestly surprised by so much more than I was expecting to be surprised by, and I'm not sure if it's because lately I've just been reading really predictable books, and I have to say, I cried twice while reading this book. Twice. I mean, I haven't cried while reading a book in a very long time, and the fact that at two different parts in this book, I actually needed tissues, that was saying something. I feel like a lot of the times I'm reading books, I'm enjoying what I'm reading for the moment, but I'm also just really looking forward to what's going to happen, and I'm kind of just waiting for the next thing that's going to happen. In this story, I definitely felt that way, but I also just enjoyed every single minute that I got to spend in this book. I just felt so in the moment. I just think it was a very beautifully done story. And I think this book may be classified as historical romance, but it's not super romantic in the way that you think a romance book would be. It really is more a story of love lost. So we do see a lot of flashbacks to these characters' lives because there isn't really any pressing present time romance. It's all really done in the past. So although it is a historical romance, it's not like you're watching two people fall in love story. That's probably the best way I can think of to describe it. So I really enjoyed our main character, Clara, who's the nurse. Also just because reading about a nurse in 1911 is so different from what it is like currently. Of course, there are similarities because it's still the same profession, but just the way that the nursing day looked in 1911 was just completely different from what I'm experiencing currently. So I just really enjoyed reading about that. And one of the aspects that I really enjoyed about this book is that Clara really connects with a patient over their shared loss and their shared grief. They both have very similar stories. There is a scarf that ties these two stories together. The story of this woman, she's in September 2011, and this woman in 1911, and how their lives kind of interconnect through a scarf. And I think that was just a really great way to tie these stories together. This scarf had beautiful marigolds on it, and so that is, you know, part of A Fall of Marigolds. And I really loved how she used a tangible object and how this one object meant so much through each of these women's lives, and how this scarf told a story across years and years and years. So I really loved the use of the scarf. It really made this book so beautiful. I haven't mentioned yet, but I did listen to this book on audio, and I thought it was fantastically done. In the scenes when it brought me just emotionally over the top and I was crying, the voice actor did such a great job. Her pacing, her tone, everything she did was so well done. I would highly recommend the audiobook, although my good friend, who actually is the one who recommended it to me, she read the book and it was still a great reading experience. So whichever way you go with this one, you really can't do wrong. Honestly, if you enjoy historical fiction, I think this really would be a good read for you. I think I read it at the perfect time because I'd been craving a historical fiction type of read, something that would take me to the past, something with like a lot of meaning and a lot of heart to it. And so this book just filled that space perfectly for me. It was exactly what I'd wanted to read. There were some really great friendships in this story as well. Our nurse Clara, she has a really good friend, and I love how this friend just pushes Clara to do more and to be more, because Clara is just so stuck in stubbornness and also fear, and this friend kind of sees through it and she understands and completely empathizes with Clara and everything that she's gone through, but she also sees how there is a light and there is a way to get out of it. And so I really appreciated this friend. Even though she did things that I didn't agree with all of the time, I think it was still a really great friend that she had. I mean, I don't know if Clara would have been able to do what she had done if she did not have this friend who was kind of pushing her and helping her along the way. There was another character that I didn't really like so much, but I did end up coming around to at the end, and I'm just gonna leave it there. That's all that I have for A Fall of Marigolds without giving away spoilers, and I really do want to talk about this book more, but I don't think enough people have read about it because I hadn't heard about this before my friend told me about it. Once you read it, let's have a grand old talk about it because it was just so good. I loved it. Thank you so much for watching and happy reading.